In a city under siege, where silence and suffering echo through every street, the lives of civilians are a daily battle for survival. This is the reality in El Fasher, Darfur, where families like Hafiza's have seen their world crumble in the wake of Sudan's civil war, which began 2 years ago. Hafiza, a 21-year-old woman, lost her mother in an August 2024 attack when a shell hit the market where she went to sell household goods. She left no last words, Hafiza quietly recalls, her voice thick with grief. She was dead when she was carried away. Suddenly, Hafiza found herself responsible for her 5-year-old brother and 2 teenage sisters. Their father had already passed before the war, leaving them with no one to turn to but each other. El Fasher, one of the last major cities in Darfur controlled by the military, has been under siege for the past 12 months by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF. The city, cut off from the outside world, has been subjected to relentless bombardment, leaving its 1 million residents trapped in an ever-deepening crisis. With her mother gone, Hafiza's days are now filled with serving displaced families, distributing water and blankets, and supporting community kitchens. Yet, every night, her loneliness haunts her as she sits in the rooms once filled with family. I remember the places where my mother and siblings used to sit. I feel broken, she says, barely able to hold back tears. Across the city, in the midst of constant shelling and gunfire, Mustafa, a 32-year-old volunteer, fights to survive. His house was hit by artillery, and when he returned, he found it ransacked by looters. There is no safe place in El Fasher, Mustafa says, his voice breaking. Even refugee camps are being bombed with artillery shells. Death can strike anyone, anytime, without warning. For Manahel, a 26-year-old woman, the war has shattered her family. Her father, who stayed behind to protect their home and their neighbors' belongings, was killed by RSF artillery. Manahel, who had just completed her university degree in law, had moved her mother and 6 siblings to a safer area, away from the front lines. But even then, the specter of violence looms large. We endure relentless shelling, Manahel shares, recounting how the city's inhabitants are forced to drink from contaminated water sources. With food supplies dwindling and market prices rising, community kitchens funded by Sudanese people living abroad are the only lifeline for many. But the war is not just a battle of artillery, it is one of fear. Both Hafiza and Manahel express their deepest dread. If the RSF takes full control of El Fasher, they fear for their lives as women. As a girl, I might get raped, Hafiza says quietly. This fear is not unfounded, as other cities captured by the RSF have seen horrific massacres, many of which have been described as genocide by the international community. Women, especially from non-Arab ethnic groups, have been systematically targeted, suffering unspeakable atrocities. In the midst of this devastation, the RSF continues to deny these atrocities. According to their commanders, the people of El Fasher are not civilians, but rather active participants in the conflict. This narrative starkly contrasts with the stories told by those who have lived through the violence. The United Nations has warned that famine is looming, with thousands already displaced and at risk of starvation. In nearby refugee camps, the situation is dire, as people struggle to survive amid the collapse of basic infrastructure and the ever-present threat of violence. As the RSF tightens its grip on the city, Hafiza, Mustafa, and Manahel made the painful decision to leave El Fasher. In November 2024, they fled to nearby towns, uncertain of their future. But even as the military regains control in Khartoum, Darfur remains a battleground, its people caught in a war with no end in sight. El Fasher, once a city of hope and promise, has now become a place of fear and uncertainty, where the only certainty is death and the only hope is survival. If you want to stay updated on the latest developments from Darfur and other important global stories, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Stay informed, stay aware,